My best friend, Michael Crisci, his dad was a fireman, and he died on 9/11. And they were like best friends with me. Like my mom and dad, my mom raised me, so like they were like a family to me. So he was like a father to me. So when everything happened, I knew like I wanted to go in the military. So once I went in the military, I know I wanted to go to Special Forces, and I just took the proper steps to do that, and that's where I ended. I was stationed, besides going to Iraq, I was stationed in Camp Lejeune for all of my time. I was at 2nd Reconnaissance Battalion. Then once we went into Special Operations Command, I was in the Marine Special Operations Battalion in Camp Lejeune. The event that changed my life, it was July 17th, 2006. I was in a vehicle. We were coming back from a mission, and my vehicle was blown up by an IED, or an improvised explosive device. And from there, I had loss of consciousness. I had, shrapnel ripped through all the muscles and nerves in my left leg, and as well, I suffered severe head injury. When I was in the hospital, I heard many things, especially because of the extent of my nerve damage. I still have no feeling from my knee to my hip. And the doctors were like, obviously anything can happen. We're not discouraging you, but like, don't expect to not walk without the aid of a cane because of how severe my leg was. And they still, to this day, like, I have minor brain damage, and they still don't know to the extent of, blast injuries on the brain. So I've definitely learned a lot about traumatic brain injuries and how they work, and problems I faced with that. But I just kind of listen to what they say, and just how I always conduct myself, and I've learned that a lot, especially from being in the reconnaissance community. Just like never take no for an answer, and just keep pushing. Since getting out of the military in May, I went and did 1 semester at a community college back at home in Long Island, where I was. And what brought me to the city was I was supposed to be in the January class or for the fire department, and that's what I'm looking to do. But due to the budget and everything getting cut the classes, so I wanted to move to Brooklyn because I had a few friends there, and I decided to go to BMCC. And right now I applied, and I'm just waiting to hear about the nursing program, so I'm going to go for nursing. I've spent tons of time in the hospital, and I realize what a difference a nurse can make on a patient's well-being and everything. I've had great nurses, and that alone could make your day better and everything, and I realized the impact that they have. So I definitely wanted to get into that field. Already I'm an EMT, but I definitely want to do that, and I think that'll be a great job to do with the fire department. The rehabilitation process, from the time that I got injured to the time where I was able to do any type of walking or any sort of activity, was about a 1.5-year process. I went from being in a wheelchair for a while, and going eventually to cane. Eventually to crutches, and eventually to a cane. And the whole thing, I was in extreme pain all the time, and the way I looked at it is, I have a situation, I can make the best of it, or I could listen to what everyone says and be like, yeah, that's how it's going to be. But that's not who I am, and that's not how I wanted to handle it. I wanted to, make the best of the situation and just, keep going. My intent to raise money is for this foundation called the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. And what this foundation does, it provides full college scholarships, grants to children of special operations personnel who were killed in combat, as well as provides immediate assistance to the families of people who were severely wounded, so their families has a means to get to their bedside during their recovery. This foundation means a lot to me because it's helped out my mom. It's gave my mom money to come see me. So that alone means so much to me, as well as I know how many families it's impacted from my friends. So anything I could do to help this foundation meant so much to me. And that's why I chose, a lot of people have been asking me, why 100 miles, why something that big? But for me, 100 miles, just for the pure shock value, people hear that and they're like, all of a sudden, 100 miles. So that alone has generated a lot more donations than if, say, I ran a 5K or a marathon, so that alone. And plus, I feel like that's the best way to honor my friends with a race of that magnitude. The whole race, it goes from Key Largo to Key West. It's 100 miles. I'm the only one running it well, it's a big race, so a lot of people actually run the race, but as for how I'm going to do it is there's no aid station, so I have to have a self-supporting crew to help me out through the whole thing. So I have about 7 of my friends who've helped out through this whole process with the fundraising, making the video, doing all that stuff. So they're flying down with me. They're going to be in a van, and they're going to provide everything from the food, water, every little need I have, and also provide. Some of my friends are going to be pacing me throughout the race, so they could run with me and stuff as I run the race. So they play a huge part in this whole thing. When I first thought about starting this whole thing to raise money, I was thinking, even I was like, oh, 10,000 would be amazing, but like I never realized how quickly this thing would, blow up, and it's just gotten so big, and already, within less than a month, we've raised $38,000. For anyone who wants to donate, we've set up a website that people can donate to, and it directly goes to the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. And that website we set up is www.firstgiving.com/keys100, and that's KEYS 100. So anyone could go on there, make a donation, and the best thing that people have been doing also, besides that, is just passing it on to everyone they meet. The more people who see this and raise awareness, the better, and that'll only help that much more families. And Special Forces meant everything to me. That's all I wanted to do, and I love the job. If I didn't get hurt, I would have stayed 20 years there. And just getting out, like since I've been out for a little over, about a year now, I've never had that like fulfillment, and I felt like I went from going 100 miles an hour to going 0, and I miss everything about it. I miss the people that like I've worked with, I miss the job, I miss all of that. And for once, like through this fundraising and doing this race, for once it's finally made me feel really good, like I'm being back with them. So it definitely means so much to me, and for once, yeah, I just know how much it's helping out the families. I've already gotten contacted from a lot of my friends who died in combat, and their families have been calling me and just like continuous thanks for like keeping their son's legacy alive, and that alone it gives me chills, and it definitely gives me so much motivation to do things like this. So I feel like this is just the start.